The Super Speedway podcast is a Dream Bigger media production. For news, photos, show notes, and information about advertising on the podcast, visit www.thesuperspeedway.com.
3, 2, 1.
Welcome to the Super Speedway.
It's just, what are you going to do? You turn him right in front of the field and hurt him? I mean, he puts you in a bad situation. I lifted for him, cost me 3 spots right there. We should have finished second. Everybody knows that. That was dumb on his part. I mean, next time, I guess that's what he wants, just go down and wreck him in front of the field. But, I mean, you got to run like that. You just don't move up. I should have just wrecked him, I guess.
Welcome to episode 107 of the Super Speedway podcast, recorded Wednesday, May 15th, 2019. I'm your host, Eric Young. I am joined, as always, by my co-host, James Cush. James, it's starting to feel like summertime, almost.
Though it stopped raining for 5 minutes here in Michigan this week, so yeah, it's getting there.
It's nice out. It's warm out today. Got out for some Little League baseball this afternoon, and you can hear the whir of my fan in the background in here because it's actually warm enough where I'm recording that I'm sweating. It might be the running around that I did before the podcast to make sure that my equipment worked. But either way, I'm here.
Yeah, we're just swinging it, man. That's all we do. That's when we're at our best, is when we are literally flying by the seat of our pants.
If people knew actually how much work I put into preparing for this podcast, I think they'd be, I don't know. I think they'd be very disappointed.
Well, I think they'd be entertained if they heard the frantic version of Eric that I hear every so often at the beginning of the podcast.
Yes. So
yes.
we welcome Clint Boyer to the intro again for I think like the 4th or 5th time this year.
He's really on it. Yeah,
Clint's given us some good sound bites this year.
He's grumpy. I like it.
He's taking the Tony Stewart role, running that 14 car.
Yeah,
he hates blocking, so
he
he's
does
got
sound
that
a lot
in
like
common.
Tony Stewart.
Yeah.
By the way, that was not Eric Jones's fault. I'm just going to defend Eric Jones for a hot second.
All right.
What is he supposed to do?
Right.
Racing with hardly any laps to go, block. That's what this is what the package is.
Exactly. These guys that say, these old guys that are like, we didn't do that back in our day, are full of it. This blocking stuff has been going on forever. Go watch a race with Earnhardt.
I watched the highlight today. Man, where was it? It was on Twitter or Facebook, one of the two, and it was from Kansas when Matt Kenseth, the Joey Logano feud had just started, and Matt Kenseth blocked Joey Logano all the way through the tri-oval.
Right.
Like drifted all the way up, and for some reason I had not remembered how bad he blocked Joey.
Yeah. When
that whole thing started, and I was like, oh man. Of course, Joey punted him.
Right.
Makes sense.
So, of course, we're talking about the Digital Alley 400, which it is Alley. We pronounced it Ally last week, but it's Alley, apparently.
I'm going to stick with Ally. This is a GIF thing.
From Kansas Speedway this weekend. Brad Keselowski gets the win and gets a win in a race that really wasn't a Brad Keselowski race. I wasn't really expecting Brad to get it. But the cautions fell right at the end, and he was able to get it done.
Yeah, got a couple of guys trapped there under that ridiculous caution, and yeah, he was. I was kind of pulling for Bowman there. I'm not gonna lie.
I was definitely pulling for Bowman. This is Brad's 3rd victory, 6th top 10 finish in 2019, and it's his 30th win in 353 Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series races.
Not a bad percentage.
Yeah. So what does 30 wins get you, James?
Well, Brad has said this before, but he said it again. He said this is a lock for the Hall of Fame. He said 30 is the number he's always been shooting for. He felt like if you get 30, that you're a Hall of Famer. And well, he's got the championship.
Yeah, he's already a Hall of Famer. What's he talking about?
Yeah, he's got the championship, but I mean, 30 is a nice number. I was looking at the all-time wins list and just some guys that are around him. Carl Edwards, 28. Kurt Busch also has 30. Dale Jarrett, 32. Denny Hamlin, 33. So yeah, he's in pretty good company right there.
Yeah.
I mean, what is it? The 28th driver with 30 or more wins. I believe something like that.
It is really interesting how small the field of drivers is that have 30 wins. It's pretty amazing to think about it.
Yeah, it's yeah. I mean, he's there's not very many active drivers. Actually, well, let me rephrase that. There's a lot of active drivers that are in that wheelhouse, but when you think about all-time drivers that have 30 wins, yeah, that's a very short list for as many people who have driven in the Cup Series.
Sorry, I'm stalling here a little bit because I'm looking. How many championships did Keselowski win in the Xfinity Series?
He has one in the Xfinity.
Is it just
Series.
one?
Just the one, yep.
But I mean, still, he's got a championship in the Xfinity Series. He's got a championship in the Cup Series. Without the wins, I think he's a lot.
Oh yeah, he's safe. Oh yeah. He was in when he won his championship. I mean, he was pretty much in, but he's put the resume together that he's needed. I mean, he's I don't know where you put him as best drivers in the series right now, but there's a handful of guys, and he's on the hand. He's on the top 5 list somewhere.
Right.
I'm not sure exactly where to place him. If it's Kyle Busch 1, Keselowski 2 right now, I don't know exactly, but he's right there.
Right.
He's in that group.
So again, we mentioned Brad Keselowski. He leads 12 laps on the day. It certainly wasn't his race. He finished 7th in stage 1, didn't finish in the top 10 in stage 2. So it very much was a race that was somebody else's race. And you look at Alex Bowman, he finishes 2nd, 63 laps led for Bowman, and he dominated pretty much the second half of the race, a lot of it, after Kevin Harvick pretty much dominated the race with 104 laps led. Harvick comes home 13th, but screws.
Yeah, well, he got trapped.
Yes,
that
that's right.
caution. That caution fell, and then he ended up getting his lap back. I can't remember. Was he 2 laps down or 1 lap? It doesn't matter.
I think he was just the one, but he
got the lap back, but he never got back through traffic.
Right.
He was just stuck. His car was great in clean air, and in the pack, it didn't go.
Yeah. Again, we mentioned Alex Bowman, 3rd straight second place finish. He's got to have one coming soon. It's only a matter of time for this kid.
I would have disagreed with you if it had come on any other track, but the fact that it happened on a mile and a half like this, and he's got top 2 finishes at Talladega, Dover, and Kansas. Those are 3 completely different styles of racing, and he's right there. So yeah, he's on the cusp. I'm going to eat a little bit of crow on Alex Bowman, I have a feeling, when he gets that win, because I wasn't so sure about him, but he's really stringing them together right now.
Right. Yeah, it's been good, and I'm almost willing to go out on a limb. We're 2 weeks out, and I want to see what happens to the All-Star race this weekend, but go out on a limb and say he could be a high favorite for the Coke 600.
Yeah, this is he's on a bit of a hot streak. He only has these second place finishes he has. Those are his only top 10s of the season so far.
Right.
But that's also coinciding with a bit of a resurgence out of Hendrick Motorsports that we're seeing, because we weren't sure after Talladega. Chase Elliott got the win, and then they had a nice showing at Dover, and then we go to Kansas, and it looks like they figured it out. Mm-hmm. I mean, would you agree the whole organization is right there now?
There was a time during this race that I was like, holy crap, Jimmy Johnson might win this race.
Yeah.
And that tells you something.
Yeah. The and William Byron didn't have a great finish, but he had a good run going. But yeah, all those Chevys, one Toyota in the top 10, that's saying something. The Chevrolets are coming.
Yep.
It's really good to see their resurgence. I think it's coming at just the right time because, we've ran 12 races and we have the Fords and the Penske Fords and the Gibbs Toyotas. They have won them all except for one. So to see Chevy finally have that resurgence needed, it's perfect. We need it. We need the parity.
Yeah. I mean, in NASCAR's got to be thrilled. Top 3: Ford, Chevy, Toyota.
Yeah. Top 10, you've got, you got both Ganassi cars in the top 10.
Mm-hmm.
And then you've got Tyler Reddick, who's part-time rookie, and Chris Buescher, who's been running pretty good himself at his own right. And he led laps.
Chris Buescher was spectacular in this race.
Yeah.
For Chris Buescher. Chris Buescher was spectacular for Chris Buescher.
Well, yeah, it's Stenhouse was 11th. He had a nice run too. A lot of those guys that I mean, if that's a testament to the rules package, I don't know, but just seeing those guys up there, that's NASCAR's got to be thrilled that they've got some of these smaller teams making their push into the top 10.
Definitely. One driver that did not have a good day, James, finishes 30th on the day, Kyle Busch.
Yeah, the streak is over.
It is.
So he's forever tied with Morgan Shepherd on the top 10s to start the season list at 11.
Yep.
And he kind of blew it himself. That was
Yes.
kind of his fault too.
Yep. And, well, I mean, it was NASCAR's fault. They were mad at him about his comments the week before, right?
Yeah, well, he was and he was grumpy. What did his crew chief told him? Basically, his crew chief told him on the radio, "You're wrong, Kyle. You're wrong."
Yeah.
So,
Yep. Told him knock it off.
yeah, we haven't heard that. We haven't heard that said to Kyle Busch in quite a while. So
No.
that's kind of interesting.
Yeah. Let's see. Other guys finishing down toward the bottom. Ryan Blaney has a rough day, finishes 32nd. But
I picked to win, and I was not correct.
Bubba Wallace, a tough week overall, finishes 29th.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about those guys in a little bit.
Yeah, Bubba was in tears during one of his press conferences this weekend. Talked about depression and things, and having a rough time right now, and it's a bummer for Bubba. I'd really like to see him have
Yeah.
some luck, man. He's a good kid, and he's a good driver.
He is a good driver. Yep, for sure.
Let's see here. Everybody else kind of sort of where you expected them. I don't know if there's anybody else really that jumps out at me in the middle. One big checkered flag I want to give this weekend, though, is we finally saw what this package can do. And I
Yeah.
thought this race was
Yeah, I
probably,
think
I think arguably the best race of the year.
Yeah, I think that's the testament that everybody's kind of going with right now, that this was exciting. There's seems to be a lot of people thinking that it had a lot to do with the weather as well, and it just was kind of a perfect storm of the rules package is good here. The weather was perfect for this race under the lights. What do you think on that? I was kind of curious to get your thoughts, because I know you were on Twitter, you kind of beating the drum that this was a great race, and I had agreed with you. That was fantastic.
It was excellent. We hyped up the end a little bit more than we needed to, because the end wasn't quite what we were expecting. It wasn't as crazy.
Well, they botched that caution flag. That's really one of the downers of it. But
Yeah,
I feel like it worked out. We don't need, how many laps was that caution? 14, 15 laps?
it was pretty long.
Yeah, we don't need to do that
As
anymore.
a race director at a local track, I sympathized very much with NASCAR. There's not a worse time to throw a caution than in the middle of pit stops, green flag pit stops. But yeah, this package was spectacular. The race was excellent. This race is not directly, but what we got at this race is the reason that I decided to go back to Kentucky this year, because I think Kentucky is going to be like this as well, because you've got a freshly paved track and it's a night race. It's going to be cooler. That's what this package is made for, is a smooth track with, cooler temperatures, night racing, or just a cold day. That's what this package is going to excel at. And I think we'll see it there. I'm a little worried about Chicago, on the other hand, whereas we had the great race last year. I think this package could hinder Chicago, but a track like Kentucky is going to be good.
Do we keep the package and then just move the schedule to November through February?
There you go. Perfect. Let's run in the snow.
We'll be all set?
Let's run in the snow.
We'll be all set. We finally figured it all out.
I was
NASCAR.
I was kind of down on the package changes like a week ago or 2 weeks ago.
I think we all have been, though.
But
I think we all have.
If we need to stop expecting Talladega at every race, period. And this race is the better end of what we're going to get with this package. I think all that we really want, what we really need to remember to expect is this package isn't about creating a race like we saw at Kansas. That's a benefit. That's great when it happens. But this package is about taking that car that's 5 seconds out ahead of second place and making them 2 to 3 seconds out. It's to close the field up and get them closer. That's what this is designed to do. And I mean, I guess in that aspect, it's done it so far this season. One thing we still see, the downforce on these cars, they get sideways and they can save them really easily.
Yeah, I was just going to say that's the thing that still sticks in my craw, is that these cars easy is not the right word, but
I
I'll
know,
use it.
right?
They're not. Yeah,
It's
they're
easy
not.
for us to say.
Yeah, I know. But they're easy. They're too easy to drive for the skills that these guys possess. These
Yeah.
drivers are way too good to have this much car control. They need to take some of that away somehow. But
But how do you do that? Because then you're gonna
cars
create
are
the
too
same
slow.
issue.
Well, yeah, the cars are too slow. There's too much grip, and when you have a night race like they did, it's the track's not hot and slick either. That's
Right.
not helping anything.
But if you
So
take that grip away, you're going to notice the lack of horsepower a lot more because they're not
they
going to be able to close up.
exactly, and with the lack of horsepower, even if you do have a slick track, they're like you said, Eric, they're gonna gobble the car's gonna get out of line a little bit, and they're just gonna gather it back up real quick and keep on going. There's a lot more time. These drivers are masters of reaction time. And there's so much time for them to react now. It's basically slow motion for them, I feel like.
Yeah, the fact that we were running 3 and 4 and 5 wide at Kansas and didn't wreck.
Exactly. It's exciting to see, but Nick Bromberg and Jeff Gluck talked about this on Jeff's podcast after the race. It's exciting to see, but they both were in agreement. Like, we would like to actually see more wrecks safely. We want everybody to be safe, but we kind of miss the fact that guys aren't tangling up some sheet metal anymore.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, and it's not even wrecked. We need a spin. We need cars to get sideways. We need them to lose control. That's what this is. These guys are supposed to be on the edge of control, and
if you've already taken away mechanical failures from this series. They just don't happen anymore.
Right.
And if you're taking away driver error cautions as well, it's gonna compile a little bit. The only thing that you can bank on for cautions now are flat tires and some debris here and there. I mean, that's not a good mathematical formula. And I don't want to take anything away from this race. Obviously, this was a fantastic race, and if it looked like this all the time, that would negate some of those problems we're talking about.
Right. I agree. Anybody else we want to talk about, James, as far as winners losers on the day?
We talked about the guys sneaking into the top 10 in Stenhouse. I think Joey Logano and Denny Hamlin, those guys got to be kicking themselves a little bit. They didn't have a great day, but they got kind of mirrored back. But no, that's pretty much it. It's nice to see. I really do like the parity that we're seeing. I mean, that's really stuck out to me with the new package. We're seeing guys. Ricky Stenhouse has been good on 1.5 miles this year. He really has.
Yeah, he was up there again. My buddy Dave Moody said the other day, he mentioned that this package wasn't designed to have Chris Buescher race for the win every week, but it was designed to get him into to narrow the gap and get him to where he can run top 10 every once in a while. And this again, Kansas, if NASCAR needed something to say, this is why we did this, then Kansas is the example.
Yeah, and it gives me hope for the Coke 600 that when the sun goes down, we might really get a really good finish out of the Coke 600. But we'll kind of burn that bridge when we get there. Obviously, we got a couple of weeks yet, but some good signs, really, really positive, and some drivers running really good. I was really happy that there's really nothing bad you could say coming out of Kansas. Is that and that's a big positive.
Yeah. Well, is that so, James? Can you say nothing bad about it? Let's talk about the inspections a little bit.
Really quick.
Yeah, go ahead and take this one, James.
No, so before qualifying, I believe, or no, it was after qualifying, before final practice.
Yep.
Before final practice, there was 11 cars that failed inspection. I think it was Jeff Gluck who called it the Inspection 400, so I stole that from him. Just going to run down the list of teams that failed and had to go to the back. Landon Castle, Chase Elliott, Eric Almirola, Ty Dillon, Martin Truex Jr., Joey Logano, Michael McDowell, Daniel Suarez, Kyle Larson, Joey Gase, and Timmy Hill, all to the back for the inspection failures. Eric, I feel like we've touched on this before, but do we care about the pre-race inspection failures?
I don't.
Neither do I, but we put it in the.
I really don't. I didn't pay much attention to it. I'm happy that this is happening before the race and not after.
And that's the talking point. I think that we would probably agree on is that they put these rules in place so that we would know who won the race Saturday night, Sunday, whatever it may be.
Yep.
there wouldn't be any post-race inspection failures. And so far, unlike last year, we are clean and clear. So if they have to send teams to the back for not getting it done before the race, so be it.
Yep.
And
I like
that's
penalizing a guy before the race rather than after the race because, before the race, they have a chance to work out of that penalty for one. And two, you don't have that what if. Like, when the winner gets penalized after the race, you go, what if he was legal? And you don't have to do that now. So I like it. I think this is another example of a system that's working right now. Yeah, it's a little annoying, but honestly, it's not the big storyline. We talk about it a little bit on Sunday morning or Saturday afternoon before the race, and that's it. It's not the big giant storyline that it was before because it doesn't have to be. Right. So they go to the back. Big deal. It's no different than if they changed a part before the start of the race. It's a mention during the pace laps, and there we go.
Yep, off you go to the back.
I like it.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah, don't care, but glad that it's in place.
Yep, agreed. Let's talk news, James. I'm gonna give you the first one because I hadn't heard this anywhere, and you've got it in the notes. So let me hear what you heard.
Yeah, thanks to NASCAR and Reddit. This is a rumor mill. This is not we're not breaking any news or a statement of fact. But there is some signs that Richard Petty Motorsports could either be closing or going into a merger somewhere around the Coca-Cola 600, possibly next week. Again, this is Reddit, but Reddit's been right before.
Right. They've also been wrong before.
They've also been wrong before, but they also, they predicted the Carl Edwards retirement. I mean, that's something, to kind of keep an eye on. But basically what they said on Reddit was, employees at Richard Petty Motorsports are this is kind of silly, but they're ordering new business cards for Petty Enterprises, which would mean that the partner with Richard Petty would be obviously sounds like they're backing out. We don't know what the team could look like, but it's something to keep an eye on. I think. What were your thoughts when you saw it? Do you have any feelings on it so far that you think might be true, or is it just kind of conjecture right now?
I don't know. I mean, it would certainly explain Bubba's attitude the last few weeks.
That's
I know
what I was thinking.
Bubba's had some personal issues too, which we won't delve into because we don't need to do that. But so that could explain that a little bit. I know he's been pretty frustrated with his with the team's performance, not his specifically. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. I know that team's been struggling for years. It would be it would be disappointing. I hope if it is something, it's a merger or a partner change or something, and not an elimination of the team. That's my biggest concern.
Yeah, well, weren't they last year bringing one race car to the super speedway tracks?
Yeah, they were. That's right.
Yeah, we can't even afford to bring backup cars.
Yep.
So that tells you where they might be. One of the things that I thought of that could be out there was merging with Richard Childress and running, Richard Childress has been running that 31 car. Maybe that becomes the 43.
Yeah.
Something like that. I had seen that. So just something to keep an eye on. But yeah, like you said, Eric, it explains a little bit about maybe what's going on with Bubba too. He's got some other issues going on, but the fact that the team is performing even worse this year than it was last year is not a good sign, especially when you've got a driver. I think you and I are on the same page. Bubba's one of the most talented young drivers coming up, and probably should have been in the Cup Series maybe a couple of years before he even got there. So, a couple of breaks didn't go his way getting to the Cup Series, but he finally did, and we just think he's a good talent.
Yeah, he's a good talent. He's a good personality. He's one of those guys that even if he's not winning, he's good for the sport. To have that personality in the sport, kind of like a Clint Boyer, type of thing. Yeah. Not the same personality at all, but. You know what I mean? It's the personality.
Yeah, good personalities are hard to find. Yeah.
Yep. Especially in this day.
Well, yeah, and we've lost a lot of good personalities, and I feel like Bubba could be somewhat of a replacement for guys like Tony Stewart. Carl Edwards was a big personality.
Yep.
We just don't have guys like that. As they're far and few between now. So to have somebody with his charisma and his understanding of like millennial culture a little bit, he's not afraid to put a show up on Facebook and things like that. So. We hope the best for Richard Petty Motorsports. Obviously, we want them to stick around in some form or fashion. So we'll keep our eye out and let everybody know what we see if we see anything.
Here's one for you, James. I'm going to throw this out at you without any prior discussion, so you're not prepared. Maybe it's something we discuss a little bit more in a future podcast. But I watched a video on YouTube the other day, and I forgot to save the link. I'll have to see if I can find it and throw it in the show notes, or we'll discuss it again later. But it was kind of like an editorial piece, and they talked about, should NASCAR get rid of the 4-team limit in the Cup Series? The reason, obviously, that we started with this 4-car limit for teams was because of trying to keep a certain teams from being able to dominate the sport, essentially. And this was at a time when 55 cars were showing up at a race for 43 positions every weekend, and we were sending a bunch of people home, and it was to try and keep teams from having a certain advantage because they had the extra cars. Since then, we have had field dwindle. We aren't hitting the maximum number at most of the tracks as it is, and we've cut the maximum down to 40 in the Cup Series. We have no team limit in the Truck Series, where it seems like, what the heck's the team name that Johnny?
Is it Thor Sport?
Between Thor Sport and
Kyle Busch.
Yeah, Kyle Busch Motorsports, and who's the other one? Spencer Gallagher's team.
Oh gosh, GMS.
GMS feels like GMS owns half the field, and I don't know that it's hurting the Truck Series at all by allowing. I think it's helping because there's more teams, or there's more rides available. Do you think this is something NASCAR should look at? Should they get rid of that limitation?
I hate to be on the fence guy, but I really am on the fence, because if you let these teams, if you let Hendrick Motorsports get a 5th car, for example, and all these other teams start getting a 5th cars, what's to say that some of these sponsors just completely ditch some of these other teams? What could that do for, like, Roush Fenway, for example?
Right.
Our sponsors are going to look at, oh shoot, we could have a 5th driver at Hendrick or Gibbs. Boy, we could
I would
get a little bit more
argue
exposure.
strongly, by the way, that Roush Fenway is in the situation it's in now because of the 4-car limit.
Oh, probably, yeah.
Because
For
they
sure.
were forced to eliminate cars during the season. Jamie McMurray's ride went away because they had to cut back.
Yeah, and when they had 5 cars, wasn't there there was a time where they had all 5 in the chase? That was probably the best version of that model at one point. But I don't know, man. I could see your point where performance would come up for the series, but also it would basically eliminate the small guys from the sport completely. At this point, there would just be no room left for him.
Right.
I don't see how a team like, I don't see how Bob Jenkins would survive, for example.
So here's the question for you, and then no offense to Bob Jenkins and no offense to the people that work on that team, but for the fan, does that matter? I mean, he's not running up front.
No, it probably doesn't for the fan. I don't think it matters.
I mean, wouldn't it be better for the fans if there were 40 competitive cars?
Well, yeah, and fans aren't going to the racetrack to see Michael McDowell and David Reagan.
Right.
No offense to those guys either, but yeah, you make a great point.
See, this is something we need to discuss at length in the future.
Yeah, and that's why exactly. Well, that's why I'm on the fence about it, because I don't know. I mean, yeah, it'd be great if Roger Penske and all these other teams had five cars out there, but the performance for all is not going to be. I don't know. I guess it would bring the performance of the entire sport up. I do agree with that point.
I mean, the only 2 teams this affects right now at all is Hendrick and JGR, because they're the only 2 teams that have 4 cars at this point. So, Penske's only got 3. Childress has 2.5-ish, you know.
Penske's got 3 with a satellite.
Right.
So does Richard Childress. They have 2
Oh, I'm
2.5.
sorry. Stuart Haas has 4 too. Yeah, don't forget about Stuart Haas.
Stuart Haas has 4. Richard Childress has the 31 car part time, and they are basically running that 13 car.
True.
For Jermaine.
True, but I mean that's the thing though, is that is the way around this rule. I mean, that is a Childress car, but it's not
exactly, and they're still only at 4. You know, and it's like Gibbs was probably the one that was going around the rule the most when they had the 78 car.
Yep.
They don't have anymore. So, yeah, I don't know, man. This is a discussion for more thought, I think. But it's a good point, though. Yeah, limit. Put a 5-car cap on it, or even a 6-car cap. But how far can you stretch even the biggest teams too? If they're already stretched, like Stuart Haas, they don't have full sponsorship for their 4 cars.
Right.
they're already stretched probably is to the max for support. So.
True.
Yeah, it's good. It's a really good discussion. It's probably this is probably better suited for a Bob Pockrass, Nate Ryan.
There you go. There you go. All right, some more news. We talked about last week, I think, or a couple weeks ago, we mentioned that J-Ski was coming back. J-Ski is back in full force. They relaunched the site on May 13th. It is the ugliest site I've ever seen in my life.
Beautiful.
But it's J-Ski.
It should be the ugliest site you've ever seen.
Exactly. It's J-Ski with no ESPN influence. So
it looks like 1998 all over again.
It really does.
It's fantastic.
It's like a 2019 version of 1998 though, because 98 wasn't quite that cluttered. It's pretty cluttered, but it works.
Yeah,
it gets the news out there. That's what we want. Yeah.
Yeah.
We
were glad to have J-Ski back.
Yeah, it made preparing for this show a lot easier.
Yeah, it's kind of like your blankie,
Yeah, exactly. All right.
We may not always have it there, but boy, is it good to have it back.
Let me get by this pre-roll ad on the Tennessean.com website, thanks to the USA Today network. Gotta love it. Oh, yeah. Oh, now the out-of-play ad goes down to the bottom. Great. I can't find the article because there's so many ads popping up, but the Tennessean has an article about Speedway Motorsports and NASCAR at the Nashville Fairgrounds. Speedway Motorsports presented a $60 million pitch to bring NASCAR to the fairgrounds. Made it public this week. Let's see here. Caldwell, who I don't know who he is because I didn't put it in the quote here, but Jerry Caldwell, Executive Vice President, Bristol Motor Speedway. Caldwell's presentation featured ideas for 30,000 seat facilities or 30,000 seat capacity structure. Let me slow down, calm down.
You got this.
An expanded concourse, premium seating, pedestrian tunnels, and sound barriers at an overhauled racetrack. There's an image on the website, which only click on it once because you can only get 5 free articles.
I'm too scared to click on it.
But they've got a rendering of what the track would kind of look like. Of course, they are very clear that this rendering is just that, a rendering, and they are open to any ideas as far as, what the fairgrounds wants, what the people want in Nashville, et cetera, et cetera. So they're pretty open to this. One of the big hangups before we talked about was funding, and funding has apparently been figured out. I'm not going to delve really deep into it because it's a pretty long article, but there's talk in here about the finances. Let's see. They basically, Speedway Motorsports pitching a public-private partnership to revitalize a racetrack. $60 million project will be funded through revenue bonds and revenue generated through the use of Speedway property, according to the pitch. So,
and not taxpayer dollars?
Not taxpayer dollars, it looks like.
Good.
So, they threw that out at the beginning just to see what people were going to say, and they got shot down as you would expect.
Yeah,
exactly.
I hope people revolt. I hope taxpayers should never pay for anything like this ever again.
Yep.
We know better than that at this point in 2019.
Agreed. Ask everybody around Little Caesars Arena in Detroit.
Yeah.
So, and it was clear here that they're, Caldwell says basically they're willing to run one event here a year or run the track if they want them to do it. It's up to the people at the fairgrounds and whatnot. So this is where it's at right now. The proposal's out there. We'll see what comes from it, but they're still working on trying to get this Nashville thing to happen. And the rumor is, and I don't have this in the show notes, but there is talk of moving the All-Star race again. And Martinsville and Nashville are two of the high contenders for that date.
Yeah, I love it.
Yep. I'd love to see the All-Star. I think the All-Star race at Nashville would be perfect. Run the All-Star race there, run an Xfinity race, run a truck race. And that's how the Cup Series runs at that track for the first few years until we make sure we can make it work. And then we bring the Cup Series there for a regular date.
A sneaky fun thing that they can do is they are doing what they're doing right now. They are putting dirt on the Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway.
There you go. Yeah.
For some dirt racing. So
they're going to have a couple of weeks of dirt racing. World of Outlaws is coming. It'll be a good time out there in Nashville.
That's so cool that they're doing that.
Yeah.
I love that. Like Bristol had dirt on it one time.
Yep. They did it a couple times at Bristol, and I forget what it was. I think it was finances that made them stop doing it.
Well, that's got to be so hard to do. To move dirt in and out of a racetrack like that.
Well, and to put dirt down on an asphalt track or a concrete track, it doesn't allow the dirt to do what it does on a dirt track. You know, it's a lot harder to care
Yeah.
for because you're not getting all the drainage and everything that you get in an actual dirt track. The water can't
Yeah.
sit the way it's supposed to. It's not ideal.
Right. But it still looks cool.
It does. It does. Any other news that I'm missing, James?
No, I think that covered it this week.
All
It's been pretty, we've had pretty quiet news weeks for the last
Yeah.
couple weeks, but that's good.
All hell's going to break loose soon.
Yeah, some
Got
stuff's
to.
going to come down. Silly season will start kicking off here in the middle of the summer, and we'll get the news back rolling.
Yep, agreed. All right, so it is All-Star Weekend at Charlotte Motor Speedway. We go All-Star racing this weekend. Arguably the best thing of the entire NASCAR season is qualifying, where we get to race down pit road at 200 miles an hour and slam into the pit stall and zip out as fast as you possibly can. I think, NASCAR brought back single car qualifying. I wish they'd have done this at every track. It'd be awesome to go full speed down the pit road at Talladega.
Right.
It'd be great. I mean, it'd take a lot longer, but
Right.
hey, I mean, seriously, this is the one qualifying that I tune into. Last year, I knew who won the pole, and I still tuned in to watch it because it was great.
It's the qualifying is in-car cameras that's what it's made for.
Yep.
For all-star qualifying.
Yep.
Because it's fantastic.
NASCAR needs to put, or Fox needs to put one of their in-track cameras like right as they dive onto pit road, so the cars zip right over the camera at that speed, hitting the bumps and whatnot coming down pit road. That'd be cool.
Yeah. Yeah. The transition. I think the most amazing thing for me is the transition of how hard they come off the banking onto the pit road surface.
And the crazy thing is to think that we used to do that all the time. There was no pit road speed limit. That's what we did.
I know.
And
Isn't that
they had like 15 guys on the pit crew back then and 43 cars. Some tracks had more than 43 cars on pit road. Some of the pit roads didn't have 43 stalls, so people had to share pit stalls. I mean,
People
those were the days,
buckled into
man.
the cars with nylon rope.
Yeah, no kidding. The
Yeah.
seats wrapped around their sides because in their rib cage because
What the hell were we doing back then? It's like everybody had a death wish. Back
you
in the
want to
day.
watch. You want to see something interesting? Go look for a video of Cale Yarborough on board at like Talladega and look at how he can like turn around in his seat just about and look out the back of the car. There's so much room to move around.
Yeah, and the steering wheel was about the size of it looked like a boat wheel.
Yeah.
Really is what it looked like.
And we talk about cars getting airborne now, and Kyle Larson's deal at Talladega was crazy. But back then, those cars would turn around backwards, and they just lift. I mean, there was nothing
Yeah.
keeping them on the ground. There was a time in the early 90s, late 80s, where if they turned backwards at Daytona or Talladega, they were airborne and flipping.
Speaking of airborne, I caught a glimpse of Indy 500 practice,
Okay?
and Fernando Alonso almost he got off the ground. It's not as insane as it sounds, but poor Fernando. I can't think that he's been in too many really bad accidents, but he was in a pretty bad accident today in practice. But
I haven't checked in on the IndyCar practice at all yet. I'll have to do hit up the old YouTube when we're done here and check it out.
yes, please do.
So before we get to the All-Star race, we have to run the Open. And the Open is the same day as the All-Star race this year, correct? Again, I believe.
I'm gonna say yes.
I believe it is, which is the way it should be. I don't like it being the day before.
No.
So James, you did something insane here, and you're going to make us pick these guys that are going to make it from the Open into the All-Star race. I think I hate you.
Well, we couldn't really do so. The All-Star race it's not. You don't really have a dark horse,
Right.
It's the All-Star race. So I thought, well, let's pick the Open guys, and then we'll pick who wins the All-Star race.
Yeah, I like that. That works.
Yeah.
So how do we want to do it? We want to go 1-1-1-1, or do we want to kind of?
We could do like a draft.
Or are we going to kind of agree on the first two or so? Because I think we're probably going to agree on the first two or so, right?
We could. I guess we could do a draft and
Yeah.
see who gets what.
Kyle Larson's not in the All-Star race, huh?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah. Larson's not in. Gosh, it's a good crop.
Didn't
gosh,
Suarez race his way in last year, right?
Nope, Suarez is in the. Yeah, he did. He raced his way in. But yeah, he's in
Yeah.
the Open again this year.
Dang. Well,
I know.
Chase Elliott will not get the fan vote this year.
Nope,
'Cause
Chase
he's already
Elliott's
in it.
not. Yep.
So who gets the fan vote? Let's start with that. Who gets the fan vote in?
I think it's Bubba.
You think so?
I think so. I've seen Reddit trying to push him already.
Really?
And if Reddit gets behind somebody, Matt Benedetto, they're gonna get him in.
Don't you feel like Larson's got enough fans to get him in?
Larson should. He should race his way in though.
He should race his way in.
He shouldn't. He
You're
should.
right. Yeah, you're right. Do you think that DiBenedetto can pull it off? Do you think he can get the fan vote?
He probably could, but he should race his way in too.
Okay, so here's my opinion on this. I watched a little bit of Race Hub today, and they got to David Reagan, and they were taking a bunch of the guys from the Open, and having them give a pitch as to why they should be in. Matt DiBenedetto had this big production. It was pretty entertaining. So they get to David Reagan, who is on set, and David says, instead of voting for me, he says, I don't think anybody should get voted into the All-Star race. I think they should have to race in. Don't vote for me. He said, if you want to vote for, your favorite driver at the end of the season, but they should have to race in. And I agree. I hate the fan vote.
The fan vote was only really good when Danica thought she was going to get in and she didn't.
Right.
That's when the fan vote
Let's
really
get
came
rid
in.
of the freaking fan vote. Come on. Do we really need to vote somebody into the All-Star race?
Listen, they give the fans a Hall of Fame vote at this point, so I don't know what else they can.
This is the problem with NASCAR though.
Yeah.
The fans have too much say.
Yeah. Well, somebody's going to get left out that deserves to be an All-Star in the All-Star race.
Well,
There's some pretty good drivers.
Better.
I know.
Should have won a race.
I agree. I don't like the fan vote either, but the fans get to vote in every other All-Star event we have in sports. So why not for this?
So James is going Bubba for the fan vote.
Yep, put me down for Bubba. He'll be my fan vote.
I'm going Matt D.
Matt Benedetto. And we should state too, so the Open is 3 stages.
Yes.
2020.
Do we have to pick which stage they win too?
No, God no. God no. But the winner of each stage goes into the All-Star race.
Yes. And
they don't have to race the rest of the Open. So it's 20 laps, and 10 laps. That last stage is going to be a hot one. So yeah, I go Bubba. Bubba's my fan vote guy.
All right, I'm gonna pick my first. I think we're gonna have the same 3 on these personally.
Yeah.
I am going to go. Well, I'll just start with Larson. Larson's getting in.
Yeah, Larson's in. Okay, so you got Larson.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with the guy with the hot hand. I'll take Bowman.
Okay.
Did you already pick him? You didn't pick him as a fan vote, right?
No.
Okay. Was double checking. I know you said Matt Benedetto, but I am just double checking.
And I'm gonna go William Byron.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Actually, you know what? I'm gonna change this. Forget it. You can pick Larson if you want to. I'm not gonna pick Larson. I'm gonna say Larson's gonna end up left out. So I'm gonna say William Byron for my first one.
Okay.
And I'm just gonna add. You're gonna have Bubba, right? Or not Bubba. Larson, right?
I don't know. Let's see who you pick next.
Okay.
Well,
so
if you're not, let's see.
Let's picking see. Alex Bowman. I agree on Bowman.
Oh, you stole my Bowman.
Well, you can have him too. I'm just picking who we're picking. We can pick the same guy, right? We have to be able to pick the same guy.
Sure, we can pick the same guy. Okay.
All right. So
I'll take.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. You finish.
No, go ahead.
Nope. So then if I'll do Larson then.
Larson. Okay.
Yep. Because there's no way Larson's not getting in.
I think Larson's going to continue to disappoint like he has all season, and he won't make it.
He's too much better than the rest of these guys to not make it.
Pick your third guy.
Oh my God.
I'm waiting on my last one. And I am not joking with my last one.
I want to say Byron, but I can't. Oh my God. I'll say Ricky Stenhouse Jr.
Not a bad one.
It's him or Suarez. I'll say Stenhouse. There's some guys getting left out. There's some guys not making this thing.
Yeah.
Some pretty good drivers.
I probably should pick Suarez. And I'm seriously, I'm not doing this to rile you up, but I'm going Paul Menard getting in the showdown or whatever the heck they call it now.
He's got the best equipment of anybody else.
Yeah.
He's got the penalty stuff, so that makes sense.
So let's run down the old All-Star race here. Here's what we got. Qualified for the All-Star race so far, we got 15 drivers. Kurt Busch, Brad Keselowski, Austin Dillon, Kevin Harvick, Ryan Newman, Chase Elliott, Eric Almirola, Denny Hamlin, Ryan Blaney, Clint Boyer, Kyle Busch, Martin Truex Jr., Eric Jones, Joey Logano, and Jimmy Johnson. And then the 4 guys who get in with the fan vote and the open. So you can pick your all-star winner. You're giving me the first pick, huh?
Yeah, I had first pick last week, so technically you should
all right,
be.
I'll take first pick. And just so you know, we can pick any of the guys that you can pick anybody. You can pick somebody from the open too if you think that they're gonna get in and win. So,
yep.
I didn't really prepare for this. I don't know. I know it's not gonna be Kyle Busch. Kyle Busch is not happening this weekend. There's no way.
No.
I'm going out on a limb here, and I'm gonna go Jimmy Johnson.
Oh, I was thinking about taking him.
It's just like a Jimmy kind of race.
Well, he won the shootout at Daytona.
Yeah,
so.
he doesn't have Chad here to throw something tricky at it, but it's a Jimmy kind of race, so I'm going Jimmy.
Okay.
I know who my second pick would be now, but go ahead and make yours, and then I'll tell you who my second is.
I'm going to go with, oh my God. I'll go with Joey.
That was my second pick.
Yeah, I'll go with Joey. He's been good. He's just good. He's solid.
Yeah.
He's solid. No really rhyme or reason other than he's in Penske stuff, and they should be fast.
Right. So let's see here. We have the open first. There are 3 stages: 20 laps, and 10 laps. Stage 3 is 10 laps.
Yeah.
The All-Star race: 30 laps, 20 laps, 20 laps, and 15 laps.
Yes.
The last stage in the All-Star race, cautions don't count.
No mandatory pits.
Right. The open though, they do count, right? The last stage, I believe they do.
I'm looking at the graphic. I don't see that, so
Okay. I don't know.
I'm assuming they don't count.
Kevin Harvick won the All-Star race last year.
We've got some. We got a little bit of a rule change.
Yes. Yeah. Let's talk about that. So we
we
hit on a little bit before, but a couple weeks ago. Go ahead.
But it's a single piece of carbon fiber splitter / pan, whatever that means, that hopefully offers a little bit more aerodynamic improvement. And then there is a technical. What is the technical component?
Well, the air ducts aren't venting out the wheels; they're venting out the hood. So this contraption is wild looking.
Yes, the car is configured with a radiator duct which exits through the hood, as opposed to the current design, which exits into the engine compartment.
Yep.
This feature is expected to create improved aerodynamic parity and reduce engine temperatures.
There you go.
So there you go. Those are the big rule changes.
And this was hinted at a look at what we may see in the Gen 7 car. So
yep,
we'll see how it works. It'll be interesting. It'll be definitely interesting. And this is unlike last year where we kind of knew a little bit what we were going to see because we'd seen it in the Xfinity series. We do not have a clue what we're going to see here. I would assume it would tighten things up more, a little bit more than what we've had, but it'll just be a minor improvement over what we're seeing this season. But who knows?
Take the dang splitter away.
Yes, I know.
How are you talking about splitters?
I know. Get the splitter off the cars. What else was I going to say? There was something else I was going to mention. I don't know. I don't remember. But so here's a question: Is the All-Star race all hype now? I mean,
it's not even that.
I don't know. I'm excited about it because we're seeing a different package. I like the fact that we're throwing something different at it like this. And I heard him talk about the other day on Sirius that, next year if they've got a pretty good idea, the Gen 7 car, and we can do it, let's throw the Gen 7 car out there for a race in the All-Star race and see what it looks like. You know what I mean? It's a great testing ground to test something.
Glorified test session, yeah.
It's the one chance you're going to have to test something in a true race because everybody's racing. Everybody wants it.
On a mile and a half.
Yep.
Yes.
I mean, that's if nothing else, use it for that. And give us something to look forward to, I guess, and see.
Yeah.
We've tested things in the All-Star race that haven't worked. We tested the goofy tire combo before. The All-Star race birthed things as well, such as double file restarts, which came after the All-Star race. And
yeah, the infamous Tony Stewart win. I remember that was I think the last really exciting All-Star race.
Yeah. I don't know. Last year was good. Last year was good. I won't say it was great, but last year was good.
I remember being really flustered after last year's All-Star race because I didn't know what the heck I was seeing.
Right.
And I came on the podcast, and I think I was the Debbie Downer, but that's
probably that's normal. Yeah.
Yeah, it's normally my role, so
We're
that's
used
okay.
to that. Yeah, I mean it's been a while since it's really been. I every year I get a little excited about it because there's so much hype around it, and then every year it's a big letdown. But last year at least it wasn't a letdown to me. It was a good race.
This is the one my wife likes to watch because, and I quote, that's the short one, right?
Yeah,
That's what I get. So,
that's
yes.
there you go. All right, so All-Star race this weekend. We come back next week. We'll talk about the Coke 600. James, you got any shout outs this week?
No, but I think, well, we have one. I sent you a clip, and I think it spurred our shout out this week. So I'll let you take it.
Yeah, well, I kind of wanted to mention it in the podcast anyway, but yeah, last weekend was the Grand Prix of Indianapolis, and there's been the Grand Prix of Indianapolis has been a precursor to the month of May at Indianapolis and the Indy 500 for the past few years, and honestly, this race has been an excellent race until they get to turn 2 every year. And then it's just been kind of a race. Indy's track just isn't really great for excellent racing. It's just not perfect. And so there's all this hype around Indianapolis and we race into turn 1, which is insane because it's a tight turn and there's always a wreck going into turn 1. And then after that, it just you just sit there and watch it. So I watched it delayed and I watched it Sunday night. And I put it on and I figured, well, I'm going to eat dinner. I'll throw it on and watch the first 5-10 laps or so, and then I'll shut it off and go do something else. And I was hooked on this race. This was the best Grand Prix of Indianapolis ever. There was threatening rain throughout the whole thing. So there was this whole thing. There was a caution early. A bunch of people got off strategy. So you had 2 groups of cars, one that was on one strategy, one that was on the other. And it was all coming down to when the caution was going to come or when they were going to have to pit for rain tires, because the rain was coming for sure. But they couldn't tell when it was going to hit. So there was this back and forth from that. And then in the end, it ended up, I don't remember who won the race now. I don't have it in front of me, but it ended up, somebody ran down the winner or the leader to get the win in the end. And so the strategy ended up not even being a big factor in it, but there was actually a race to the end and the pass was on the last lap. Or 2 laps to go, I think it was. It was just an excellent race, absolutely excellent race. But talk about your video first.
So IndyCar cut this video up of lap 1, and it's just bouncing around from car to car, which you think would be kind of crazy, but well, I guess it was crazy, but it looked incredible.
Yeah.
And I sent it to you because I was like, look at the way that I was impressed at 1, the way they cut the video. But 2, it made that look like just absolute chaos and super exciting to watch. I was like, holy cow, this is awesome. And it's on the official IndyCar Twitter page. You just got to scroll down and find the media. But it was really good.
And this goes to show you why we're a NASCAR podcast and not an IndyCar podcast, because it's the IndyCar Grand Prix, not the Grand Prix of Indianapolis. Grand Prix of Indianapolis was the F1 race that was raced back in the day and then ended because of the tire debacle. So Simon Pagenaud was the one who came back and got the win. Passed Scott Dixon on the last lap or next to last lap to get the win, and he was coming. It was one of those things like you see in NASCAR a lot of times where it's like, is he going to be able to get there? Is he not? I don't know. It's too far, and he was able to squeak through and get the win. But it was an absolutely excellent race. The IndyCar series has some good stuff. And some of it, we talked a couple weeks ago about the Long Beach Grand Prix. That was boring and awful, but some of these races really, really click. And I think it's a series worth checking out for sure.
Yeah, there's a lot of buzz about IndyCar this year. Like good buzz. Like the racing's been really good.
Yeah.
And then, NBC, this will be the first year that NBC has the Indy 500. And basically, I can't remember the number of years, but ABC and the Indy 500 had a partnership, and it was the longest sports carrier spot or whatever since forever. So
right.
So NBC taking over for ABC this year, which is going to look a little bit different, but
it means we get Lee Diffie.
Well, and if anybody knows motorsports, NBC has shown that they can do a really good broadcast. And Dale Jr. is going to be there, I believe. Some of the NASCAR guys are going to be there. So, I'm going to be checking in for sure. I always do, but I'm looking forward to the Indy 500.
Yeah, I agree. I can't wait for that day. That day is the best day. We'll preview it next week because you have the Grand Prix of Monaco, you have the Indy 500, and you have the Coke 600, and I have already informed my family that I am doing nothing that day but watching racing. So that's the deal.
Nice, good, as it should be. Just let me be.
Yes,
family.
I say there's one weekend a year or one day a year that this happens. Although, in truth, it's like 6 or 7 days a year. Because, Talladega comes and it's like, I always got to watch Talladega. And then Daytona's here and I got to watch Daytona. And, well, it's Homestead. You got to watch the finale. And so, yeah. But at this time of the year, this is the one weekend. So,
Yes.
Anything else, James? Any other shout outs?
No, I think that's it, man.
All right, let's talk about our fantasy racing league, which gets the week off this week for the All-Star race, I think, right?
Thank God.
Is that true?
Yes.
Okay. James, I actually picked drivers this week on purpose, and I got third place.
It was, very good.
I smoked you.
You did.
I really didn't actually by that much.
No, we were all really close, but I did what I do and finished last.
Bringing up the rear. Justin 713 gets the win, 213 points. Ranger Runyon second. I was third. Scoters fourth. Hurricane Ditka was tied for fourth with Scoters. Freight Train 295 sixth. Wow, Todd had a bad week. What the heck, man?
Well, we all technically had a bad week.
Yeah, that's
I don't
true.
know what happened.
That's true. Smokey back in last place.
Yeah, and I dropped back in the standings to sixth overall, and just behind you in fifth. So, yeah,
nice. Justin 713 leading the points right now. Ranger Runyon nice and close behind him. Yeah, coming close.
Well, we're in third place is right there too. Freight Train. So they're all within about 50 points of each other. So yeah, it's pretty close.
It's a good race. It'd be nice to be part of it.
Yeah. I'm just gonna sit in the back and let those guys take each other out, and then I'll sneak in.
I'm just waiting for them to use up all the good drivers, and then I'll jump in at the end. And
I don't
still
know.
not win.
Yeah, hasn't been good.
Yeah. Not only do we have the All-Star race this weekend, but we have the Truck Series race at Charlotte as well. That'll be a good one. Friday night, 8:30 p.m. It goes on TV at 8 p.m. 201 miles, 134 laps for the Gander. What the heck is it called? The North Carolina Education. Yeah, the North Carolina Education Lottery 200. Johnny Sauter was your winner last year, so see if he can come back and win another one.
Is that a lot?
Yeah, he does. He does. And Yeti was looking for a ride at the beginning of the season. That's crazy.
I know. Yeah.
James, where can they find you on social media if they want to talk to you during the week?
You can hit me up at James Cush on Twitter.
You can find me at TSuperspeedway on Twitter. You can find the podcast on Facebook at facebook.com/thesuperspeedway. For more of the podcast, visit our website at thesuperspeedway.com. You can find the podcast, show notes, links to the articles we've talked about, et cetera, et cetera. You can find the podcast on iTunes, Google Play, and SoundCloud, wherever you found us today. We hope you continue to listen. Click the subscribe button. Do what you got to do to come back. And we've been watching people tagging along, and we're slowly ticking up there. So we appreciate everybody that listens every week. We've got some faithful followers, so we appreciate it. If you want to become a patron and help participate in the show and help us get to do some more stuff, whatever, visit us at patreon.com/thesuperspeedway and become a patron today. Anything else, James?
I think that's it.
I think we got it.
I think we're good. Yeah. If you do subscribe to the podcast, please subscribe, unsubscribe, and then resubscribe, and then rate and review.
Don't ever tell somebody to unsubscribe, man. They might
you
forget to click the button again.
You gotta unsubscribe and resubscribe 10 times. It juices the stats.
There you go.
You do it that way. You just keep hitting that button over and over again. Then make sure you're subscribed at the end.
Right.
And then give us the 5-star review.
We would love some reviews because that does help us to see, what you guys think and whatnot. And hey, hit us up on Facebook. You got a suggestion, something you want us to talk about? Hit us up there, and we'll certainly do it. So, Charlotte Motor Speedway this weekend. It is All-Star Race weekend. We'll check it out on Saturday night. See what we got. We'll be back next week to discuss it and preview the Coca-Cola 600. Until then, everybody, let's go racing.